So I want to get something clear right before I get started talking proper with this review. The Shape of Water is a very good movie, but it's still a bit of a mixed bag. Yes, hello everyone, my name is Luke and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am bringing you my movie review for Guillermo del Toro's The Shape of Water, the only film that has 13 Academy Award nominations this year, including Best Picture. And in order to fully extend my catalog of Best Picture nominees, I am trying to play catch up and seeing them before the actual award ceremony, which is happening, by the way, on Sunday, March 4th. There will be a link in the description to my review for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is already up on my channel, and I'm planning on seeing a couple more, so just stay tuned for the reviews that will be trickling out throughout the rest of the week and into next week. But I wanted to see The Shape of Water, and I wanted to review The Shape of Water because it was such an interesting theatrical experience to watch. If I had to describe The Shape of Water, it would be, as I said, very, very good, but a mixed bag. There are elements of this film that are incredibly brilliant and bold and original and so well executed. Then there are elements that are a little bit more on the medium side. They weren't perfect, but they weren't horrible. And then there was one major element of the film that is really, really poorly executed. So, for the first third of this review, I'm going to be talking about the brilliant things that are in this film. And all the things that are brilliant have no spoilers in them. When we get into the medium and then therefore the poor section, there will be slight spoilers. I won't spoil the ending by any means, but if you don't want to be spoiled, I will include a link. I will include chapter times in the description, and I will let you know when we get to the actual spoiler section. But what was brilliant about the film? Well, Sally Hawkins, front and center as our leading lady. She delivers such an incredible, subtle, and nuanced performance, told entirely through sign language. And it was absolutely incredible to see this kind of representation be depicted in a film like this. I took American Sign Language when I was in college, and one of the aspects that we learned about not only was sign language, but also deaf culture and the deaf community, and how little representation there is of deaf people and how inaccessible sign language has become to the hearing community. More hearing people know other languages, spoken languages, and can communicate with people who don't speak English primarily, but then you have deaf people who try to communicate with hearing people who do not understand or know sign language. And to have a leading lady, she's not deaf, she's mute. There is a difference, however. But her entire role is told through sign language was incredible. And even though I said Frances McDormand was deserving of Best Actress for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, I think that Sally Hawkins is her biggest competition this year. I think if Sally Hawkins takes the Golden Statue for Best Actress this year, I would not be mad at it whatsoever because she delivers that good of a performance. The next brilliant part was Richard Jenkins as her next-door neighbor, Giles. He was one of the best supporting character, best friends to the protagonist, not just in this film, but I've seen in a really long time. Completely deserving of his Best Supporting Actor nomination, although I do not think he will win. And there's an element to his character that's actually in the poor section of this review. But his character and his relationship with Sally Hawkins' Elisa was so sweet. And his love of old 1950s movie musicals that was always playing on his television in his apartment was so charming. Next up, Doug Jones as the amphibian man, as the fish creature that is the centerpiece of this film. He is covered in so much makeup, a full bodysuit, and there's CGI, I'm sure, that's added for some of the special effects, like his fins and the way that his eyes move from side to side. but he still gave such an incredible performance. My only critique is that I wish that we had been able to see the progress of his intelligence and his knowledge of communication to be more prominent in the film than it already is. Because Elisa is the only one who is really trying to understand this creature, while the other scientists, all they want to do is just experiments on him, and she sees the humanity inside of him. And then, next up, the cinematography, the costume design, and the production design is a triple threat in this movie. I have never seen a Guillermo del Toro film before, but I'm definitely going to improve on my roster of his movies. I'm gonna check out Pan's Labyrinth and Crimson Peak and see just how those movies compare to The Shape of Water, because this movie really made me want to be more knowledgeable about what Guillermo del Toro has done. And I will say this, it's a shame that Mark McDonagh is not nominated for Best Director for 3 Billboards, but Guillermo del Toro is going to win Best Director. This movie is completely deserving of that Oscar. I don't think Paul Thomas Anderson will win. I don't think Christopher Nolan will win. And while Greta Gerwig and Jordan Peele are fantastic with their films, and it's amazing to see both female directors and directors of color nominated for Best Director at the Oscars, they don't deserve it this early on in their career. They will make more movies. They will be nominated again. But for this early on in their careers, I don't think that Gerwig or Peele should win, but Guillermo del Toro should. He deserves an Oscar after all these years of apparently a long, prolific, and beautiful career. And finally, the ending. I will not spoil it, but it is so powerful and so beautiful that you just have to watch it. You just have to see this movie. And that's where I'm going to leave you if you don't want to have spoilers. You need to watch The Shape of Water. Not only to be entertained, but to really see something original and unique made out of Hollywood today. For Hollywood being accused of being so formulaic, they delivered such an incredible movie with The Shape of Water. So, thank you for watching. The next section, these next 2 sections will be entirely involving spoilers. So if you want to go into the movie spoiler-free, thank you for watching. Leave your comments, like, share, and subscribe. But let's get into the spoilers. Okay. So what was medium about the film? Well, Michael Shannon. He was a fabulous villain, but he was so demented and genuinely evil that there were no redeeming qualities about him whatsoever. There was no hidden layers to his complexity. He was just genuinely evil. And I don't think that in today's movie atmosphere that you can have a villain that is one-dimensional, because I just think that you're wasting an opportunity to explain even the subtlest of reasoning and rationale why he is the way that he is. I mean, he's set up as a very, very slimy jerk, but he just keeps getting slimy throughout the course of the movie. And it's like he was a villain for the sake of being a villain. And it's like I said, I don't mind that, but I just think that it's a missed opportunity to go further in depth. Now, speaking of missed opportunities, Octavia Spencer in this film, she's a very talented actress, Academy Award winner, Octavia Spencer. But she's basically just doing a recreation of Minnie from The Help, from her accent to her body language to the way that she interacts with other characters. She's a lot more respectful and less sassy than Minnie was in The Help, but Octavia Spencer's not doing anything innovative with this character. She's got a lot of heart and has great chemistry with Sally Hawkins' Elisa, but also, like Michael Shannon's character, she was severely underused in this film. And I think that the potential to add more to her character was there. They just didn't do anything more with it. Now, what was poor about the movie? I can sum this up in 2 words. Subplot problems. This movie has a severe problem with its subplots. Now, one of the most important things to remember, and as someone who's studying film and is learning about how it works, subplots exist and keep the story from feeling too episodic. Rather than just having one character encountering a series of obstacles, subplots exist so that you can have supporting characters that not only tie up loose ends to the main plot, but they can also further expand upon universal themes that are not in the A plot. So what are the subplot problems? Well, the first one is involving the Russian spy that's in the American lab. I mean, the Russians and the Soviets in this movie, like Michael Shannon's American scientists, are portrayed as evil for the sake of being evil. Like, all they want is to just kill the fish creature so that the Americans don't have it. That's their only motive for doing it. And that's the only reason why they have their mole in the lab, to kill it and not take it back to Russia or to the Soviet Union to do experiments on it or learn more about it. They just want to get rid of it. And the fact that it didn't feel like it earned a reason for being in the movie, other than the fact that you just have the Soviets versus the Americans because the film is set in 1962, it just felt lazy. Like, there wasn't, like I said, there was no reason for the Russians to be involved in this story. You could have just had Michael Shannon being a domineering American scientist that just wanted to learn about the fish creature and then dissect it. But the fact that the Russians are in this movie literally is inconsequential. They don't pertain anything to the resolution of the film. The only reason that the Russian spy is there because he becomes a turncoat. He actually helps Eliza free the fish creature from the lab. That's the only reason that the mole is in the movie. The second subplot problem is with Richard Jenkins' Giles. He's amazing when he's her next-door neighbor and her best friend, but when the movie tries to give him his own subplot, it's half-baked. It's not completed. There's this, as I said, there's a subplot involving him not only being a failed advertisement artist, but also there's this undertone of him being lonely and him wanting a companion, and it's not clear what he wants. And so when he officially gets fired from his advertising job, he just goes back to Eliza and is like, I'm going to support you no matter what you do. And when he was being supportive, he was being fantastic. But when they tried to give him a subplot and then they didn't execute it well, it just made me ask, why include it in the movie? Why even bother with it if you're not going to do anything with it? And finally, the subplot involving Octavia Spencer's husband. She keeps complaining about him to Eliza throughout the whole course of the movie while they're working in the lab. And about all the years that she's put up with him and everything, and oh, it's my husband, and he just doesn't care and everything. He sits on his butt in front of the TV. But when we actually see his character in the film, in one scene, by the way, he's a complete wet blanket. And his only purpose as a character on screen was to provide the information to Michael Shannon, who comes bursting into their home and basically puts a gun to Octavia Spencer's head and forces her to tell her where Eliza and the fishman are, or what Eliza did with the fish, or what happened to the fishman, that her husband says, I overheard a conversation on the phone. It's that mute girl. She's got the fishman. That was the only reason her husband was even in the movie. And then he has one line where he tries to have a little bit of a character, but then they just completely throw it away. So I think that this rambling on is essentially me trying to articulate, if you're going to have subplots and supporting characters, or any characters, they need to have a purpose. If you're not the protagonist or the antagonist, you're a supporting character. And if you're not supporting the story, why is the character even present on screen? So, in conclusion, The Shape of Water is a fantastic, wonderful film with its weak points, but the overall package is completely worth it. Don't take these complaints as me hating on the movie. I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and it is probably, this is my dark horse Oscar contender this year. I mean, I'm rooting for Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri to win Best Picture, but this movie should win for Best Actress. This movie should win for Director. And I would say that this movie, I don't think it could win for Best Original Screenplay. But like I said, this is Three Billboards' biggest competition this year at the Oscars. So thank you so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button if you are not already subscribed. Click the bell icon for notifications. My links to social media are in the description down below as always. And remember, keep leaving your questions in the comments section for my upcoming Q&A video. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.